All right, AP of the day 8. We're over a week of AP of the days. We are in Living World this time. Sandswept Isles Champion Hunter I'm doing. So this is basically kill all of the bounties on the map. This episode in particular is one of those ones that I really didn't spend enough time doing that I really should have. And I actually have on my main achievements panel nearly completed Sandswept Isles meta for ages now. So this is a map where I was so bad with the achievements, I hadn't even finished, you know, the baseline level to get the regular loot from the map, the Corsair piece. I had the Corsair piece anyway because I have been playing a ton of the game. It's just PvP, and PvP gave me the Corsair stuff and tons of the currency from this map anyway. But, you know, you don't get the bounties and whatnot. So I'm going for these. This is about 20 minutes it took me to do this. However, that's this video file. I actually, before you're seeing me running around on the Springer here, did try this earlier today, but it went miserably. This first boss I lost against. And then the second boss I tried to do, we got 2 bounties to do here today. The second one was a Joko ambush, which I couldn't even beat that either. So, yeah, we're going to be soloing a bounty here. And there's a lot to talk about in terms of soloing a bounty. This is group content, right? You can see on the top right, it says group event right here. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They want lots of players to be here. And I'm going to try and solo it on a Reaper, which, as I've said multiple times, I think is obscenely overpowered. It's got an excellent mix of incredible sustain and high pressure. And I'm not even running a particular heavy boon variant here. So the idea behind my build right now is that while we're in our regular weapons, we build Shroud very quickly. And when we're in Shroud, if you look at my health right now, we have massive health regeneration while in Shroud. So we go backwards and forwards. This is the concept of Blighter's Boon. It's augmented by running Spite and Signet. So Blighter's Boon used to be even stronger, but the devs reshuffled Reaper Shroud last year, where what they did was they increased your degeneration in the Shroud in exchange for putting a lot more damage on there. So to counter that increased degeneration, we're actually running Signets with Signets of Suffering Grandmaster, which means while in Shroud here, you see I have extra power and I have extra life force gain even while in Shroud. So we can hide in it for longer. So we're doing all of that while also trying to CC the boss, pressure him, keep ourselves alive. This is actually a double boss we're fighting here as well. As you'll see, he's an ogre and he has a hyena ally. The hyena ally, rangers out there watching this video will know, hyenas just summon more hyenas. So he's constantly got the big hyena friend, and then he's going to have other pets running around with him too. So that's kind of the way that the build works and what you're watching and why you'll see that I can stay alive. We have to kite quite a lot. We have to use blinds quite a lot. We have to get the CCs. We have to dodge correctly. And so, yeah. Then you have the bounty mechanics on top of it. So last time I tried this, I had one where there's a green light and a red light. And this was actually a really fun achievement to do today because it reminded me of bounty mechanics and stuff. And I never played many bounties with POF in the end. I'm excited by the prospect and I like bounty systems in other RPGs and stuff. It's just POF, I never really got into it too much. But today, because I'm soloing it, I really got to know the mechanics intimately. So last time I had red light, green light, which is basically he arbitrarily goes red every now and then, and you cannot hit him. He's just, you miss everything permanently. I couldn't figure out how to get around it. And what it meant was I could sustain the fight. You get 10 minutes to do the bounty, and I couldn't beat it in time because he just had so much invuln up time. And the other thing with all the blinds was it meant that I couldn't cleave his allies. Like every auto attack I do, guys, cleaves 3 targets. And the third one on the chain gives me a ton of life force, which is really good because it means I get health with Blighter's Boon. But when you're blind constantly, you kind of just don't have an opportunity for that. You don't tag so well. Your regular skills, you can't use the Axe 2, the Greatsword 3 to get life force back. The game being to get as much life force as possible to go immediately back in the mode at max capacity as soon as the cooldown is ready, right? You notice I got a ton of loot here, but I'm really not thinking about pressing F to pick up things. And it's quite an interesting fight, you know? We've got to dodge the big animations like you see there, even while we're in life force. There you see I leave Shroud early because I want a little bit of a cushion for when I go back in, because I don't know whether I'm going to fully cap out again, if that makes sense. But yeah, so that was the last time I tried with the red light, green light. This time I don't have red light, green light. I have these spinning beams in the area, and they do a ton of damage. You basically just need to stay away from them. In large zergs, these become really difficult to see, and you'll find you're suddenly chunking and dying very quickly. Like there, he summoned one on me. You see how much damage I took there? And we have to dodge away. And then he pulls me back into it. right? And in the Life Force, we still want to avoid damage and we still want to dodge things, otherwise we get chunked too much. As you can see there, I basically got kicked out of Life Force very quickly. Well, not kicked out, I took a ton of damage and chose to leave. But, so yeah, I've got the laser beams, and they're not too bad. It looks like there's a bit of a wind-up animation. You can see where he's casting a new one, and then you can move away from it before the beam starts. It's just if you get an unlucky CC, you'll fall into it. And then the other mechanic he's actually regenerating and healing himself by summoning healing tendrils. You can see that one there. So every time there's a healing tendril, you'll see I retarget to it, like right now, and I swing over by it to try and kill it. There it actually seemed to have just despawned, which is kind of weird. But so yeah, we're focusing on that as much as we can. And as a Reaper, we get so much, like, cleave that it's you know, like one spawning right next to the boss right now, and we'll just cleave that down very, very, very quickly here. We just stand slightly between the boss and the tendril, and so you see I do enormous damage to it. We hit that thing for about 30,000 damage. I don't know how much damage you have to do or whether they're realistically tanky or not, because you just hit so hard on a Reaper. You know, we just get a cool 30k as we're swinging near it. I'm guessing they have very low toughness or whatever, and their vitality isn't too much of a problem to break through after that. But yeah, the other big thing about Necro is, especially for PvE, with the Signet of Agony, you have a very potent downstate. So I'm running a more aggressive version of this build right now. I'm running Spite. And what Spite... I'm running Soul Reaping. Spite, I've already described the Signet stuff. I'm running Soul Reaping. What Soul Reaping gives me is extra ferocity and crit chance while I'm in Reaper Shroud and stuff. And means that, you know, you can mix some Valkyrie gear in, which makes you tankier and stuff. I think I've got a little bit of Valkyrie gear on this right now. I'm running that. But the other option is Blood, which, you know, people run much more in the PvP variant of this and has its own strengths in terms of transfuse and... Well, not transfuse, but, you know, last rites and whatnot. Anyway, Blood is really powerful in PvE as well if you want to sacrifice. It gives you more resustain because of all your vampirism procs, but also when you go downstate, you get even stronger lifesteal capabilities because Blood, like, compounds that when you take the vampirism trait. I'm not running that, but I'm still going to be really strong downstate. So you see here, I've been doing pretty good, and now that the hyena's dead, his allied hyena, it got really easy. So I start playing really risk and carefree, and he actually gets me down right at the end, which completely makes me shit myself. But luckily, we could just retarget, and we can rally on that Moa hatchling. I think the Moa hatchlings are just regular mobs that are spawning in this area. They're not actually associated with the bounty. So I kind of got lucky with the spawning of that there. There's another one near my feet right now, you can see. I think the boss will actually cleave them out there. Like there, he's attacking that Moa hatchling. And that buys you a bit of time, but they're not always up. If the Moa hatchling wasn't there, I would have just held the auto attacks and my fetid ground. And via Signet of Agony and life regen, I probably would have rezzed anyway. So there's actually two extremely strong things about Necro you're looking at here. One, yes, is just the actual components of the fight we've got. The other is the downstate side, which we'll see more in the second bounty. So anyway, there you go. That's the first one. If I get a good Axe 3... Here you go. He kills me again here. If I get a good Axe 3, I can convert that stab he gave himself more. This is really scary because I have a laser beam on me, but it despawns, you see. And look, I'm not rallying here. I'm rezzing myself through autos and fetid ground, see? And we get the AoE capacity from it as well. It's just so strong. So obscenely strong. In competitive formats, they have a fairly weak downstate, in my opinion, just because the 2 is so mitigatable. But in PvE, oh, it's very good. So there you go. And then we run around, we get our loot, we get our karma. That's one boss, and I gotta say, that felt really good to get for me because, and only because, I had lost it earlier and wasted 10 minutes of my life as I never had enough damage. He was still on like 30% health last time I tried just because of the gambits and the way that they were functioning. So now we're gonna go back to the bounty boards, and the other one I need to kill is Oaken, who I haven't seen because my attempt earlier in the day, I'd got a Joko ambush. And that meant that the boss hadn't spawned whatsoever. Bit of a problem. Right now, looking at the bounty boards, you'll see that the bounty isn't available. And I'm mousing over where I know it is in the world map. But it's just because the respawn hadn't quite come up, I guess. So, there you go. I grab it, and we're going to start moving on. Here you'll see I'm typing in map chat saying doing Oaken. I type his name wrong, but hey, let's ignore that. Basically, and you'll see that I've got a pink Commander Cat tag on that as well. I realised that if you're going to be doing what I'm doing here, there's multiple builds, I'm sure, that are very sustaining and capable of soloing bounties like this. But it is group content, and even if you intend to be soloing on some such strong build, it's probably a good idea to throw a tag up anyway and just type in map chat, just on the off chance someone might come. So you'll notice I grinded through that bounty a second ago and no one came. This map does seem pretty dead to me. I don't know what it is. It just feels pretty empty. Personally, I'm really hoping that on episode 6, we get a similar Aurora situation. Season 3 was at its best when Aurora came out, and everyone was on all the maps and doing this incredible stuff. It was so cool. And I hope that that happens again so that the Sandswept Isles refills with population somewhat. But we'll see. So I've advertised and we'll see if anyone comes. So, Oaken Scorn, how does this work? Well, I have no idea. I'm looking at his gambits right now and seeing he has this fire field thing. And I'm seeing he's got this giant, obnoxious blue orb over him. Get used to looking at that, guys. I think it's just scaled weirdly because of the type of creature he is. He's put bleeding on me, so I'm wondering right now if I need Condi Cleanse because, you know, there's the burning fields and there's bleeding. And I get clipped by that animation. So I'm like, what the hell is that? I go down, and I'm kind of scared right now, but he's very slow with his animations. So even if we go down, we can just bring ourselves back up super quick, so that's fine. But then he hits me again, and I'm like, oh my god, he's doing a lot of damage. How much does he do? And you'll see there in my combat log, while I channel the auto attack, I'm looking at the pressure he's got. Just from his random jab attack, which was a quick animation, he did 18,897 damage to me. He's also got this other big attack that's basically a one-shot, Razorbark Smash. And he has Trunk Sweep, which, just the numbers on this guy is insane. And so what you're going to realize with Oaken Scorn is I've got a bit unlucky. Right now I'm thinking, okay, he's got some crazy melee damage right now. But one of the instabs, this big blue orb, one of the gambits, is telling me I need to be close to him to identify his weak point. So why am I unlucky? Well, Oaken Scorn is really easy to kite and has almost no ranged pressure at all. Like none, really. So here I'm just running away in Shroud, auto-attacking to get might, to get health, right? He's got nothing if you just keep kiting him around. And the terrain in this area, he paths really weirdly quite often. So he doesn't even really know how to get to you. His binding roots, which I just got hit with, is regular binding roots. The roots aren't tanky or whatever. You can just break those, which you saw I did with my Axe 3 there. And we can kind of just stay at range, is what I'm realizing. The bad luck is that, as fun as it is being at range, the instab is telling me I do no damage from range, basically. So we have to melee a thing that is strongest at melee. Great. And what you'll notice if you look at the way I'm playing here, I'm being very cautious with, like, the range of my abilities. So, like, in Reaper Shroud, the skill 4 actually has a reasonable radius on it. So we use that to the best of our abilities. The Greatsword 5 has reasonable range on it. So we're using that to the best of our abilities. The Shroud 5 has reasonable range, and we're going to use that. So, yeah, we're just going to keep trying to stay back and using our axe and pressuring from far away. And the game is actually not surviving because we just hide from his melee stuff. The game is getting enough damage and using it, like right now, using our Shroud at the perfect windows to hit him without him being able to countercleave. There I face tank an ability and we get hit really hard, right? And he kicks us out of Shroud and through half of our regular health. And that's kind of the game. What also happened there was I broke his break bar, and I was hoping he'd be stunned, and I was trying to get into Shroud to blow him up during said stun. But I think on bounties, breaking break bars never actually CCs them, as far as I can see. All it does is it breaks their gambits for a while, and then the gambits come back, I think, right? Yeah, so it didn't actually help much. Here, he's unlocked some new animations, right? So he's got a giant leap. I found that hilarious to see, and it just makes me realize, because you never see Oakarts do that, right? It's just such a ludicrous idea for any regular Oakarts to do something like that. But it makes me realize, you know, he is basically like the same kind of model and animations and stuff structure that we see, like, I guess, gorillas and things in Ore. And the devs can, if they want, have Oakarts leaping around. I find that kind of hilarious. But we have to be careful of that. I did face tank his first one, though, and it didn't kill me. So I'm just trying to remember. The whole game right now is trying to remember how much damage each thing does, how important it is to dodge each thing. Like the fire fields, I'm now realizing don't hurt me enough that I have to worry. I can just sort of keep walking and I'll be fine. But yeah, he's unlocked that new animation because he's below 75% health. And what he's also unlocked, here I go down again, and I'm looking at how much damage it was that managed to kill me. I got jabbed for 19,000 that time. He's also unlocked a summon skill. You see he's doing it here. Look, he looks like a dog in a minute. He's going to start shaking. It's going to be really weird. There. And he's actually shaking Choya off of his back. What a cool idea, honestly. I love the thought that he's so huge, Choya live inside him or something. And yeah, he shakes them off and they come out. In a weird way, I'm actually really happy about these Choya, though, because they're rally bait. So that's the idea that I can leave them alive, and if I go down, I can actually just quickly retarget to one of them and auto it, and I'll res on it. Though, to be honest, I don't know how it and the other thing is I use Spectral Grasp, and that's great for building Shroud, right? I actually have Spectral Grasp on because of the Ogre fight a second ago, where I know it's good Shroud generation because there was always lots of ads. I don't know whether I would necessarily pick it for this fight, but it works out because, you know, the Choya here. So we get Shroud from them. The idea of them being rally bait, I'm not 100% confident in, though, because I'd rather actually res myself via auto attacks than rally, because rallying will raise me back into the regular field of battle at a lower health threshold than if I were to res myself through autos. It's a weird, like, little nuance. So I actually don't mind too much. And here, like, I've decided I'm just going to Spectral Grasp at will to pull the Choya in, giving me life force. And yeah, they might then get cleaved out because they're getting balled up, but whatever, right? Their autos certainly haven't been hitting me that hard. So that's another thing I'm thinking about, how much pressure they do. I'm guessing that when this is scaled for lots of players, which is what ArenaNet wants, the Choya gets strong enough to be a threat, but as it is soloing, it's not a problem. And so, yeah, the game here is actually just getting as much damage out as possible, not being too careful. Survival's easy. It's just how do you balance how often you dip back in to try and keep cleaving him with our big attacks. Oh, yeah, I've been using Spectral Armor the whole time as well. Really good stun break, and also if you pop that before Shroud, you can hide in Shroud phrases. So, that's one side. Now a new player has arrived. Check it out. My commander tag has worked. So, I think it's a ranger? Yeah, he's resing himself with his pet right now. It's a ranger. On my previous attempts with the Joko ambush and with the red light, green light, and where I lost both of them, other players had walked near me, but instantly died, and I tried resing them, and I'd got myself killed resing them. So I've decided as a rule of thumb here, and you guys might think it's scummy or whatever, but I'm going to be very careful about if I ever choose to res someone. Because here's the truth. These things are so dangerous, most people are going to run in and insta-die because they're on like a fucking raid build or something, and they think they're hot shit, and they'll just die straight away because the build doesn't have the capacity to sustain. So it's very low value to try and res someone. Only go for if it's really safe. That's why I left that guy, and I knew he had his pet to res him. And that's why here as well, I know he's got his pet to res him. Also, he might have tagged a Choya, and I was trying to rally him on a Choya there. So, two things. He's come in. He represents more damage. Good. I know that the way Guild Wars 2 works is just having one other ally. Things don't scale. I think they scale at 4 players or 5. So that's fine. I'm happy to see him there, as long as he can actually learn to fight and stop being dead all the time. The downside as well is he's dragged this big buffalo. So there are bounties on the map, but there's also, amongst the Oaken, another achievement of some big game in the area, right? So it's big game, not a bounty, it's big game. And he's pulled this into the area of Oaken Scorn, which is really kind of crazy. Luckily, the buffalo doesn't do much damage. It's just ultra tanky, so I can just be happy to cleave it out and try and ignore it. But now it just looks kind of chaotic, to be honest, right? It looks like my ranger friend now has decided that meleeing is a terrible idea, and he's just pewing away. And now that he's decided to do that, if you notice, we're actually getting some good pressure out now. So fair play to the guy. We're hitting it much harder, and I thought we weren't going to be able to kill Oaken Scorn in time. But with him coming here, just providing that little extra bit of fire here, like he's pressuring right now while I'm kiting, and then now he's kiting while I'm pressuring, it unlocks a lot more damage than just what his skills represent, because we kind of trade aggro, thus opening extra burn capability for the other player, right? And Oaken Scorn goes down. 1 minute left. And yeah, there we have it. You'll see that my gear is not very well optimized here throughout this whole video, by the way. What I'd actually rather do is trade on a lot more precision, considering I've given up a lot of precision to give myself might for Blighter's boon procs instead of crit chance on vulnerable foes. So that's a thing to consider. But yeah, so Champion Bounty Hunter, that's been on my to-do list for ages. Finally got it. If I get one more achievement on this map now, I've done the meta as well, and that'll feel pretty good. There we chunk him down for a nice, good, casual 30k. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. I said good job to the ranger. He definitely helped out. Fun stuff. This is the kind of place where you talk, maybe invite him to your guild or whatever. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow for more achievement points of the day.